everybody, and welcome to Catch Them Young, Catch Them Now. It is a program that's geared towards passing on truth to the youth, to the next generation. The Bible tells us to train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Catch Them Young it doesn't matter how old you are, 12, 20, 40, 80, there's always something new to learn every day. So it's instructive, it's expository. We do a lot of research, and fact finding, and it's about prevalent issues, things that are going on right now in the society. And it's all with a view to helping us deal with these issues. So on today's program, we have a lady who is an advocate. She's a mentor, she's an activist, she's also a human rights defender. She's the founder and director of Grace Agenda, which is a foundation for victims of rape. In 2015, she was in Washington, D.C., Capitol Hill, to advocate for attention to issues of rape and violence against women. She's also a widow and a mother of 5 children. Her name is Jacqueline Mutere. Unfortunately, on the 4th day of August, yes, on the 4th day of August 2019, one of her children, her son, Vernon Jerry, also known as Chichi, took his own life. He was only 20 years old and he took his life. A short clip made the rounds recently also of her talking openly about her pain and also admonishing the youth to speak up, and parents to look for signs. The things she said she saw in hindsight now, in retrospect now, that made sense eventually, of his behavior, and it's suicide is something, it's almost a taboo. It's almost a taboo topic, which should not be so. It should be spoken about so that people are aware of how to prevent it and how to deal with it, and just her faith journey. It would inspire you. She's a very strong woman. I have come to know her. We've been talking over the phone, and she's just a wonderful woman. It's going to be talking about her personal journey of faith through this, and also what she has for us as parents, what we should be looking out for. I'm going to invite her in now. She's in the waiting room. I'm going to invite her in now so that we can talk further with her. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hello.
Okay, your video is showing now.
Yes.
That's great. All right. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me to the program and to share my story. Thank you very much for the platform.
I first saw your video. Somebody had sent it to me on WhatsApp where you were talking about, I think you were at a conference or so, and you were talking
Yes.
about this, and so many people were touched by it. And not just that, we could see your pain, and we could also see your honesty and resolve to do something about it. But I'm going to quickly start with the day, the moment that your daughter called you out on that Sunday night to your veranda. What happened?
We were all settling down. It was a Sunday evening, and we were settling down to sleep. And Jerry was in his room. He hadn't eaten supper. We had called him to have supper with us because I don't like the business of him locking himself up in his room. So we sat for half an hour waiting for him. He didn't. So eventually we just told the little sister, the very same little girl, to go and give him his food. And so I asked him, have you given him his food? She said, yes, I've given him his food. And what is he said? She said she didn't say anything. So he just said, just put it there on the table, put it on the table for me. And so there I was just preparing for bed. And then the brother, first of all, came. He's the one who had gone to feed his dog. He was a 12, 13-year-old boy who was feeding his dog in the veranda there. And then came and told Becky, the little girl, Becky, come and see what's going on. Just come and see. Come, come, come. She kept insisting. So I was irritated and I said, just get this noise out of here. Go and see what he's making noise about. She rushed back in immediately and said, Mommy, come and see Chichi swinging with his neck and he's looking funny and he's playing a bad game. It's a bad game that he's playing, he's swinging on his neck. So immediately I just ran and that's where I went and I found my son. He was hanging from the veranda on one of the rafters on the veranda and the thing that struck me the most, first of all, was his tongue that had come out and that was hanging. And that's, I said, this is not possible. So I immediately just ran. I stood there's a place, there was a table there. I had put some cement. I was doing some repairs in the house. And so I stood on the seat. There was a chair where he used to do his bodybuilding and lifting, his keep fit, and then the table, and then the rafter. So he had tied the rafter, and immediately I just went up and I got him and I removed him straight away. And then called for help and called my daughters for help. And the neighbors, I just raised the alarm and then the neighbors came.
Oh my God. I can't even begin to imagine what that, you're saying it's so easy to say, but I can't even imagine what that must have, been like for you,
It's at times it's very surreal. Bad things happen to other people. They it's somehow for life you kind of remove yourself that let the bad things happen to other people. Only good things happen to me, and that's not always the case. So this just happened, and it's really surreal at times. It's just not real. Uh, it's just not real, and going through the process of a funeral and planning a funeral. I was actually in auto mode. I couldn't function. I couldn't think. I couldn't eat. I couldn't see. I couldn't do anything until we finally finished the entire process.
Wow.
And so, as I speak about it, it was because I had been invited. The church that actually supported me to go to help me bury him are the ones who they were having a youth meeting.
Yes.
And in the youth meeting, the youth pastor asked me, "Could you just come and share? It's going to be a youth meeting, and you'll be speaking. You just have a 15-minute slot. Just share your experience." I said, "Pastor, I've never done this before. I've never shared about it before. And I don't know what to say. What am I going to say? What do I start saying?" He said, "God will give you the grace." And so I just went and I just started sharing, and that was that. And so I discovered, I didn't know that the church had partnered with other government organizations and not-for-profit organizations, and so they recorded it. I didn't know they were recording it actually, but eventually that's what happened.
Okay,
So they came.
Video came about.
I beg your pardon?
I said that's how that video came about.
That's how that video came about, and I didn't know. So later on, I thought to myself, why everybody's calling me and sympathizing with me, and they didn't know what I went through, what I go through, what I still have to go through. I mean, nobody really just appreciates the weight of the matter. And it just later on came to me that this perhaps is the opportunity and the chance to speak about something that other people don't usually speak about. So it's not so bad, and it'll give you an opportunity to help very many people. And so I turned my thought processes around and said, actually, what I'm going to do, instead of being so insensitive, let me just dedicate it to Chichi, because that's the best that I can do. Because there's so many things you try doing to sort of heal the memory. You go home, you fix the grave, you put flowers, you plan what to do, but I just thought that the best thing was just to make a dedication that it just won't be the grave for him to be just seen as somebody who just died. He speaks, that I dedicated to him, for others also to know. I just dedicated to him.
Oh God.
But for anybody who would want to condemn others, or I just dedicated it, and I dedicated this program, any write-up, any speaking engagement, anything. I just dedicated to him and his memory and the ability for him and for me to be able to speak about it.
Oh God. It's a never-ending thing, I can't even begin to imagine. I can't even imagine your pain. I was reading your dedication, your tribute, and some part of it you said, but it cannot end just like that. Okay, it cannot be lost like that. It must count for something. For those who cannot speak, I will speak. For those who are misunderstood, I will speak. For those who bear the pain of death due to mental health, I will speak. And then he also said, for a mother who walks in shame and stigma because of a child's death, and especially through suicide, I will speak. Because of depression, I will speak. Because of mental health, I will speak. I will speak and not be silent, because your silence speaks forever. That's a beautiful tribute. Beautiful. And I was reading also the World Health Organization database, and I was just sharing that with you before we started, right?
Yes,
That close
yes.
to 800,000 people die per year by suicide. Okay, that is one person every 40 seconds. And also, for every one person who has died by suicide, there are more than 20 who attempted it. So that tells you it is, when we do all the statistics, because we look at health and, people die by cancer, people die by accidents and all those things. This thing is so insidious, people don't even really notice. And you know something? They're talking among youth, adolescents, 15 to 19 years, that age group. And it has been on the rise. So that is a major thing that people should know. In Africa, where we're from, people don't talk too much about it. Like you said, there's a stigma for a mother whose child has probably died by, suicide. Has that been your experience?
Um, just this afternoon, as I was preparing, I'd gone to the market to get some food, and because it's just within the area where I live, there's some in between. There's some transport that you can take in between, and these youths, when they're out of school, usually use it just to hang on to we call them matatus. It's an informal transport system within the city and within the estates. And so I noticed specifically when I got into the vehicle to come home, I saw the boys whispering to each other, and then I heard one of the boys say, "Do you see that lady? Did you see that clip that went round? She's the mother of that boy who killed himself." And so the boy made a strong effort not to look at me, but to look at me.
Mm.
And I don't think they were trying to condemn me, but I think they were just identifying. I think I'm a physical representation of what maybe many mothers go through. The reason people stigmatize suicide is either because it challenges your parenting. It
Mm.
sort of points at your failure or lack of doing something.
Mm.
It's saying that you failed somewhere, as a parent. But what used to create stigma a long time ago is not the current generation is so dynamic. The challenges are so dynamic. The experiences are so unique. Their needs are so varied. You cannot just pinpoint and say that I was a bad parent and therefore my son killed himself.
Mm.
In the clip, I think I specifically said, I really don't care. Because from the day he was born, he died when he was 20. Nobody gave me a book apart from God the creator, on how to bring up my son. Nobody. There was no other manual. Nobody gave me a manual for my son. I had to learn through sheer trial and error. So I do not take their condemnation, and perhaps that is what gives me the boldness to speak also for so many mothers about that. That I will answer to God. If I did make a mistake, I apologize. And that is what actually made me go into depression after. I came back. Because you go through such a period of soul searching and wondering where you went wrong, what you did or did not do, what you might have overdone, and maybe sins of omission and commission. And so the women go through so much, and parents, it is their fault that this has happened upon them. So nobody has ever associated suicide with mental illness, with depression. And hence I thought that this is an opportunity to share to parents, also for those who are going through this kind of thing, that it's not your fault. You really cannot understand. You really cannot understand something. Vivian, if you'll give me 5 minutes, if you'll just give me 5 minutes, please, I want to bring a document and just share that document with you.
All right, Ms. Jacqueline.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being patient with me. It just occurred to me, just to bring it a bit closer to home, I've got his autopsy report here.
Okay. I see it.
And I want to read to you just to tell you how really it is. They talk about his body. Let me just show you in case you think I'm cheating. They talk about his body, what it looked like. It was clean, the clothes he was wearing, any other names. So the respiratory system, this is the internal examination. That the respiratory system, everything was normal. Let me show it to you.
All right.
Can you see? It just reads normal.
Okay.
Okay. They talk about his cardiovascular system.
Normal.
Everything is normal. Cardiovascular system normal. Gastrointestinal system normal. Genitourinary system was normal. His lymphatic system was normal. His endocrine system was normal. His central nervous system, his skull and his scalp, and his brain was normal. And the cause of death is neck compression due to hanging. That tells you that there's nothing physical that you can see and identify and know that somebody is depressed or is about to hang himself. The inside is normal, but it's the in here.
Yes.
And it's the in here that is troubling them. What you can't see, and that's what you must target, that which you cannot see. But for you to see the inside, you have to get this person talking. That's what I would just say. Because how else will you know what somebody is thinking about or talking about? So the physical outside, physical person is totally normal. But the inside is hurting, and you cannot tell from that. You can only tell by talking to the person. And so when I look at some of these things, when it says normal, that means he was not diseased in any way.
Everything was good.
Absolutely. And that was just my point. And Vivian, just in case this is his funeral.
Oh my God. Yes. May his soul rest in peace.
So that was him. So
I want to ask a question, right?
Go ahead, Vivian. Go ahead.
Before that happened, was there anything? I mean, so in hindsight, that you would say, oh, that was, that was probably him crying for help. That was a warning sign. But you, of course, then you didn't see it. Okay, but was there anything that was occurring?
In retrospect, I remember that he used to lash out quite a bit. He had very extremely sensitive. And he would perambulate from extreme to extreme. He'd either go extremely quiet and be very sulky, or either go to the other extreme and be extremely violent, extremely physical. There are cupboards in the house. Some of my shelves here that I promised myself I'll never fix them, because he threw a tantrum one time and wanted to hit his sister, his elder sister, the one he follows, who for some reason he just had some beef with. And they fought and he broke every single glass shelf in this house, every single one. And so that was a way, and he would come out in fights, and you challenge him and he'd say, you tell him to go out, I'm not going out. Okay, then go and sit in your room. I'm not going to sit in my room. Go and cool off. Go to your friends. I'm not going to my friends. Anything that you would tell him, he would challenge. So there was a way in which he was lashing out. And in retrospect, I was trying to think, is it possible that he was seeking attention that I was not recognizing? And because he's a middle child, is it possible that I was concentrating on him? Because the big girls are big. They don't need a lot of attention. They're focused and they're doing their own things. Then there's him. Then there are two smaller ones. So is it possible that I was ignoring him and he was just in his teens and in his youth and maybe just discovering himself? Because it tell me things like, I tell him, you have to clear the table, you have to wash the dishes, you are the last one on the table, you have to clear it up. You're the only one who's left in the house and you finished your exam, at least just clean up the kitchen for me. He says in houses their boys don't do those houseworks. It was engendered in him. Yes. How a male should and should not behave, should and should not be treated. So I don't know whether it was just his personal, was it an ego thing? Was it a masculinity thing? Was it an identity thing? And I think, Vivian, at this point, I need to say that his father died when he was born. So he's never known any other father figure apart from my brothers. But I cannot say that he would have been able to develop a close relationship in which any of them would have identified. So in the last days when he started sulking and now withdrawing, because after the lashing out now comes the withdrawing. And then he withdrew, goes into his room, doesn't want to take a bath, doesn't want to take a shower. He's dressed in his underwear all the time. He wants to sit in the dark. I tell him, don't sit in the shop. He sits in the corridor in the dark when he's sitting in the sitting room, and tell him, come and sit with us. He wants to sit in the dark and play with the dog, but he'll abuse the dog, beat the dog up, and we tell him, leave the dog alone. What has the dog done to you? And he doesn't want to let the dog go, but he wants to make the dog suffer and the dog cry. I don't know whether it was to get my attention, to ensure that I speak or say something or listen to him or look at him. I don't know. That is what I saw. That's what I observed, Vivian.
Oh, God. And that's a lot, but you would never think, because a lot of children do that. You would never think, it would lead to this.
You would never know. You'd never identify. And even as teens, their personalities sort of change because they identify with different people and in different cultures, and because of associating with their friends and going to their friends' houses, they might see homes that have got perhaps father figures, how different it would be, and perhaps what he wished might have been and could have been. And perhaps that is where I might say it was really out of my hands. It really was out of my hands. I would not have wished him to grow up without his father, really.
Yeah, but the things that you can't help.
I mean, life happens. What can I do?
Exactly. Yeah. I want to ask something that's really key now. Your faith, did it take a beating at any point in time? Was there a time?
Can I tell you, Vivian, it is only last year. Which year is it?
This is 2020.
This year, it's this year. A few months ago, I started reconnecting with God. I wanted nothing, absolutely nothing to do with God. Absolutely nothing to do with God. I couldn't connect. I couldn't pray. There was nothing to pray. There was nothing to say. There was nothing to associate God with me. I was seeing the stigma that people are looking at me. My neighbors don't want to associate with me. And some neighbors told their children not to come near me, not to come near our children, not to play with my children. I really tried one time after I buried him and I came back home and I sat in church. And I sat there and praise and worship was going on. And I felt absolutely blank. Couldn't connect. I was thinking about the soap that I'd left in the kitchen. If I'd switched off the lights, I couldn't connect. There was nothing, and I couldn't pray to God. And all I could I was so bitter.